Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glee Central Pub. Make sure you check out the Glee Central Pub right in the heart of the Glebe. Visit them for great food, great drinks, awesome atmosphere, and the Senators shuttle to and from the CTC for only $17. That is the Glee Central Pub. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, wrapping up a 3-1 Senators loss in Edmonton to the Oilers. And this game, it didn't fall apart until late, but when it did, it certainly did with a thud. Pillsy, as we always start, how did this one kind of unravel in your eyes?
This was just such a uninspired effort, Ross. Like, it didn't feel like the Sens were at any point thriving in this game or building any momentum. It just seemed like the Sens were simply surviving, even when the Sens miraculously make it a 2-1 game after it's called no goal on the ice. Wrong call, clearly. Good job by the Sens challenging it because there's no goalie interference on that play whatsoever, really. Good goal on Parker Kelly. It's 2-1. Even at that point, I'm not thinking that there's a chance here. And Zach Hyman puts it away shortly after a hat-trick goal to make it 3-1. And not just uninspiring, Ross. That's the kind of phrase or word I would use best to describe this game, as an uninspired effort by the Ottawa Senators.
So last game, they get a 5-on-3 early on that they can set the tone. Tonight, it was a 4-minute power play where they had 0 grade A chances. They had no zone possession in the first minute and a half of it at all. The second unit was the only one that could snap it around. The first unit is just complete, unmitigated disaster. The mishandling of the puck from Josh Norris and Thomas Chabot, most notably in that third period power play, was just embarrassing for guys who are making $8 million a year. It is so broken right now for the Ottawa Senators. I tweeted out, I haven't seen Brady Tkachuk play that uninspired in his entire career in Ottawa. There were 3 plays in the third period where he dumped the puck into nobody and then didn't even go chase it. It was just like, oh. And as I tweet that out, he makes a great net drive that ultimately results in the Parker Kelly goal. Parker Kelly, the best player on the Ottawa Senators tonight, and it wasn't even close. And as I tweeted out at Sen Central, that's great for Parker Kelly, and it's not so good for the Ottawa Senators' chances of winning a hockey game.
Yeah, it's not what you want to see. I would argue Anton Forsberg was pretty close to Parker Kelly's performance, but
then you look at the game winner, absolute stinker.
I mean, it's on a power play. No one's covering Hyman there.
No. The second goal of the game.
Oh, yeah. Okay, true. Sorry. I thought you were talking about the final goal. Yeah, that's not great. Yeah.
No, and again, when
Forsberg just trickled through. Yeah.
When he gets more shots, usually he's a better goalie. And we'll get into each one of the goals because this one, there's been performances throughout this stretch right now. There's 6 wins in 20 games since getting back from Sweden. Like, that's what they're at right now. It's as bad as when they got back from Sweden in 2017. Like, they are rock
crazy
bottom.
How this has happened again.
They've got their scuba gear on. They're going to the depths of the bottom of the ocean right now. It is that bad. And I'm wondering, I'm going to get a poll up here once we get involved, because we got a lot to break down here on the Postcast. Your team every day, whether it's 1 o'clock in the morning and they've just lost again, or whether it's, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're here every day. It's all good. And with that said, are you embracing the tank? Like, that's the question I'm going to ask the chat in a poll. I need to see the results. At what point do you actually start embracing it and say, let's go get a top 5 pick? Because right now it is so broken, and we keep hearing, look, Steve Staios wants to make a trade. He wants to add guys who play the right way. Well, the good news is they're likely going to add 2 guys who play the right way in the next week and a half, in Matthew Joseph, who's expected to be back from injury against Calgary in their next game, and Shane Pinto. 2 guys who will help the lineup. There's no question. But until Josh Norris is my top example, a complete liability tonight, I would say. Not even a non-factor like he's been recently. A liability. Goes 13% in the dot. Has 2 shots, one of which he just completely fanned on. I'm shocked it even made it to the net. Like, that was an uninspired perimeter performance from him. Thomas Chabot still slowing everything down. Now, at what point do you say, oh, he just got back from injury? And what point you're like, okay, you're making $8 million. You do absolutely nothing out there, and you can't keep the puck in on the power play. So I'm really disappointed with the top guys. Another night where Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk combined for 0 goals. So that's what, 2 goals combined in the last 16 games for them. Like, it's just uninspired from the guys who need to be the best players for this team to have success.
Yeah, and that's just it. And that's when you have guys like Parker Kelly stepping up and having good games, Ridley Gregg stepping up and playing better than a lot of these guys. I mean, luckily, Claude Giroux was able to come back after he gets high sticked in the face there. I was worried that he was going to miss at least the rest of the game, if not more time. So luckily, he comes back because he's been good as of late. But yeah, I'll go back to it, Ross. Uninspired effort from a lot of the top guys, and you rattled off a lot of those guys, and I would agree. Not a good enough performance tonight from all 3 of those guys you mentioned, or 4 even. I thought Timmy had a good start to the game, a couple good chances, but man, this guy's got the yips when it comes to shooting the puck. Like, it just seems like he can't decide just to get it off, and by the time he decides to shoot it in a good scoring opportunity, the goalie's kind of already square and set and is able to read the play and make a good stop, as Stuart Skinner was able to do a couple times early with Timmy. So I don't know what's going to get him just to have that confidence and let it rip a little quicker. As we saw, he almost got 40 goals last year, and he's on pace for like 15 this season. So something's up there.
And Hot Lunch, who must be fired up because he's been banging the Parker Kelly is my homeboy drum
time
for quite some time. He must be fired up about that, but he just tweeted in the chat, and we're going to watch afterwards. So we'll talk about it Monday on Locked On Senators. Brady Tkachuk's on After Hours right now, and he just referenced the 2019 St. Louis Blues winning the cup when they're last. I don't think they lost the first couple games in the new year. I think that we're beyond that time.
I don't think they started a 3-game losing streak. Yeah.
I don't think so either. So, well, the delusion, at least it extends beyond the fan base. Ottawa was just voted the most delusional fan, so at least the players are delusional too.
I mean, you have to be to have any sort of hope in this team. And Ross, I'm getting closer to reaching for that panic button.
Dude, come on.
It's on its way. Like, they're running out of time, and they're not even halfway done this season here.
I'm more excited about what trades are going to happen than I am about what wins are coming. Like,
yeah, I'm not even talking about wins yet.
No, they haven't won in 2024, right?
Yeah, they haven't won since last year.
They came back from Sweden with an 8-7 record. And they have 6 wins in 20 games since.
And we were nervous about that 8-7 record. Like, that wasn't good enough in our mind. Like, to go back to those days.
The power play is what's most concerning to me.
Special teams in general, Ross. Like, you can't have an over and allow them to go for 2 for 3. Now, mind you, the Oilers, that's a good power play, but like, how you're already 32nd in the league in penalty kill percentage. Like, how much lower, how much worse can this get?
Miguel has it nailed. I'm upset and you're exhausted. We're each holding 50% of the Ottawa Senators experience. Now, how did the Ottawa Senators get here tonight? Well, you look at the stats at the end of the day. They're not great, but they're not awful. Sure, the shot clock skewed. 46 for Edmonton, 31 for the Ottawa Senators. This is where the game, I mean, it's won and lost with these power plays. We mentioned it was a 4-minute man advantage in the first period where they didn't generate momentum. They didn't generate opportunities. It was just a big turd. Awful. Doesn't get any worse than that. They go 0 for 3 in the game. They get that, gifted, makeup call, because we'll get to it. That first goal was going to be 0-0 going into the third period. That was the feel of the game. Artem Zub gets called for a complete non-call. If anything, Connor McDavid should have got a holding the stick penalty there for throwing away Zub's stick, because it almost looked like he could have gotten a holding penalty unless McDavid was as fast as he was, because he didn't allow time for, the play to reach the boards. But after that, then they score on the ensuing power play. Jake Sanderson could not clear the puck. He made a great move to give himself space and opportunity to clear the puck, but he put it right on the tape of the Oilers player at the blue line. Bang, bang. It's in the back of the net. 1-0 Oilers there. And then they score on the power play that really put the game away. You can see the photo of that third goal that really just, leaves you shaking your head. So 2 for 3 on the power play. The Edmonton Oilers, they dominate in the dot, 59.6%. Yep. They get the edge in the 5-on-5 shot share. Now the hits were 27-14 Ottawa. Pillsy, I got in my notes. They were talking how the hits were 12-2 after the first period. That's because Ottawa was chasing the game. Anton Forsberg, brilliant, except for that stinker he let in that ultimately ends up being the game winner. So Ottawa gets 27 hits, Edmonton 14, each team with 15 block shots. So I can't wait for Ottawa to bang the drum of how great they were at blocking shots tonight. But yeah, Billsy, uninspired, disappointing. I mean, you want to get into the power play? Like, how would you change it to make it effective at this point?
Well, first off, like you mentioned, that first unit has lost the privilege to stay together. Like you just simply can't keep tossing them out there like that. A lot of it still is the way they break into the zone. And I was noticing it. Like, what are the Senators doing? Constantly just dumping it in and letting Stuart Skinner handle it, and then it's an easy clear for the Oilers. Like, they did that 2 or 3 times where it's just a dump in that's not tough enough for Skinner to stop, or no forechecker pressuring him enough to make him hesitate and hopefully get a turnover or at least create some chaos. Like, it's like a pass to Stuart Skinner behind the net, dumping it in like that. So I was pretty disappointed about that. And I thought they were doing a little bit better with puck possession when they were in the zone. Like, they were able to connect a couple passes and at least try to tire and wear down those penalty killers on the Oilers. But again, that's setting a low bar. Like, you need to be doing better than connecting on a few passes and tiring guys down if you're going to have success on the power play. So if this special teams doesn't change, and Ross, I don't even know what's worse. Sure, the penalty kills last in the league, but the power play is just so abysmal, and there's not even like momentum being gained on it, that it's almost as bad as the penalty kill. So if these special teams aren't going to get any better, this team has no hope in clawing their way back here.
Well, after scoring on their first power play following the coaching change, right? They're 1 for 1. Since then, they're 2 for 25 on the power play. That's easily in the bottom 3 in the league.
I think the Oilers were on a bit of a drought before this game. I want to say the Oilers were like 2 for 25 heading into this one. I thought I saw that stat, unless that was the Sens stat, honestly.
It might have been the Sens stat, because I mean, they've won 6 straight. There's no chance. Oh, no, you're actually right. Heading into this game, they were 2 for 23. Look at you.
Yeah, okay, so I was close. Yeah, what a way to bounce back. You get to go up against the literal worst penalty killing percentage team in the league. That's how you get back on track as a power play. Sheesh.
Wow. I would start by moving the personnel. I tweeted this out as well right after the first period. So it was still 0-0 at this point. And look, there's a couple parts of it that for me could be interchangeable. But ultimately, that first unit, I want to see Claude Giroux on the first unit. Like, doesn't that just feel like it's kind of egregious that he's not on the first unit with his power play? I want to say, and you know what? I'm going to pull this up. We could go back to 2010. I want to say since 2010, I'm pretty sure only Evgeny Malkin has more power play points than Claude Giroux. I pulled this up pretty quickly. Hey, Pilsy, power play points since the start of the 2010 season. This is a span of 13 years. Alex Ovechkin has 357 power play points. Okay. Claude Giroux has 355. 2 less.
Oh, wow.
Second in the National Hockey League. Third is Steven Stamkos. Fourth is Sidney Crosby. Fifth is Evgeny Malkin. You ever heard of those guys being on the second unit?
Yeah, that is wild. Now that you pull that up, it is wild. And I know, like, initially it was the idea that let's spread some of the talent along and let's have Giroux kind of be like the coordinator for that second unit. But when that first unit is so damn bad, I don't know, maybe try putting one of the highest producing power play point guys in the last 13 years. Give it a try, maybe.
And just it's so unbelievable. I had to pull it up so everybody can see that I'm not gassing it up. This is just a matter of fact. And yeah, he's
Wow.
played a few extra games than a few of those guys, but credit to him for playing those extra games. So
Gotta be available.
yeah, I need to see Claude Giroux playing his offside, setting up just where he is on the second unit, but move him up to the first. And I want to see Tim Stützle taken off of that wing, because it makes no sense. He's already hesitant with making plays right now, and I think he's too much in his own head about that. And that's something that you kind of want to understand. But moving him to the middle as almost the floater, you can move down low, you can move up top, you can kind of be all over the place, I think would give him a little bit more flexibility in making plays. And then the trigger man needs to change. Josh Norris, I just mentioned, he's probably my most disappointing player over this tough stretch right now since Sweden. And yeah, he had goals in 5 straight games. Like he had goals in 5 straight games.
He was hot for a bit
end the
there.
year. He had his little hot streak, but when he has no B game. If he's not scoring, he has no B game right now. He used to be a reliable two-way player. He's not. So he needs to be off the first unit. So I'm putting Jacob Chychrun up there because at least he gives you a shooting option, and they don't have that right now. So I have Chychrun on the right side, I have Stützle in the middle, and Giroux on the left side. Of course, Brady Tkachuk's going to be in net front. He's going to be that every game that he's available to play for the Ottawa Senators. And Thomas Chabot, I know some people say that we're too hard on him, but he's just been a non-factor to me. So he's moving down to the second unit. I have Jake Sanderson up top there. Then my second unit, I have Tarasenko, Batherson in the middle. And Batherson's almost like, hey, you're keeping Stützle on the top unit. So he's the guy who I don't think really deserves the demotion, but alas, he's the guy who gets it. And then I have Chabot there. Kubalik, you could put Ridley Gregg there. I mean, next week, that'll be Shane Pinto's spot, which will be a welcome re-addition. But like, I'm willing to try anything, but this is how I would set it up personally.
Yeah, I would do pretty similar to what you got there, Ross. I like that little rundown you did, but I would probably have Gregg net front instead of Kubalik. That would be the one change I would make.
Yeah, that's fine. Gregg was one of the best players on the ice tonight, I thought, for the Ottawa Senators.
He got rewarded with it, getting to play with Brady and Kelly.
Yes, he did. What a line. One of the funniest lines in the league. And Ottawa went 11-7 tonight, Pilsy. But here's a little stat for you. Mark Kastelic back in the doghouse. 3 minutes and 11 seconds. They're already going 11-7. Casty played 3 minutes and 11 seconds in this game. Wow. You know what he went in the faceoff dot? I need to pull up how many he took, but I'll tell you the percentage. 0.
Oh, damn. That's so unlike Casty. Wow.
0 in the faceoff dot. 0 for 2. So only had 2 opportunities. I mean, only played 3 minutes. And in that 3 minutes, you could argue that he was a part of costing them the game because it was a bad line change from that fourth line. And I was almost surprised to see them get that opportunity at the start of the third period. And it ends up being the game winner. It made it 2-0 at the time. But look, the third period started. They went with the line. And I tweeted this out because I found it so interesting that the way they rolled out the 4 lines to start the third period.
Yeah,
Ridley Gregg went out there with Brady Tkachuk and Parker Kelly. Then they had Kubalik up on the wing with Stützle and Giroux. Then it was Norris, Tarasenko, and Batherson, followed by Kastelic, Kubalik, double shifting, and Zach McEwen. So what does that line do? They get hemmed in their zone and then a face-off soon after, and they keep them on. So last change to the Oilers, what do? They put the McDavid line out there. Of course they do.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
But Ottawa still gets a clear. And Kubalik is hounding the puck carrier. I believe it was Evan Bouchard. And then he sees that his 2 line mates, McEwen and Kastelic, are leaving the ice together to go change. So he peels off of Bouchard and allows him to spin and look up ice. And then it's a 2-on-1. And I mean, it's still a soft goal on Forsberg. But the way that the play developed was I would say Kubalik's probably the number one guy to blame there, because if he just pressured Bouchard and made him go back, then the new guys will have time. What an awful dash for Parker Kelly to eat, because, I mean, he's playing a great game.
He
and then he gets out there and he's already chasing down Hyman, who just puts a puck on net and it's in the back. So just, I mean, a comedy of errors. It's those details of the game, Pilsy. And that's an example that I'm sure will be on video tomorrow.
Well, and Ross, that's just goes along with the pattern and the trend that we're noticing with this team. Sure, if you just watch the TSN highlights, you're looking at that and being like, oh man, Forsey lets that one slip through. That's the game winner. That's the story of the game. But if you take a look at it and zoom out and rewind like you just did, all these bad bounces and all these kind of bad goals that are happening to these goalies, sure, at a first glance, they're bad goals, but they're happening because of simple breakdowns where if you just have a guy, like you mentioned, low bar, just pressure a little bit longer in the offensive zone, and you can stop an entire great chance from happening. And then Forsey doesn't have to make that save to begin with. So it's those kinds of details that when you have those mental lapses and you make poor decisions like that over and over and over and over again, the skilled guys on other teams are going to capitalize. And that is what's happening night in and night out.
And the Ottawa Senators are paying the price for it. The Senators lose tonight 3-1 to the Edmonton Oilers. We'll have some Sen Central standouts and get into more about, well, the long-term future and the short term. How do you get out of this current funk that the Senators find themselves in? They've lost 3 in a row. They've lost 4 of 5. They've lost, like, how far do you want me to keep going? They've lost 10 of their last 13. Like, I could do this all day. They've also lost 14 of their last 20 games. But you know what makes me feel good? No matter how bad things get, I always feel good at the Glee Central Pub. The Postcast is always brought to you by the Glee Central Pub. You know how much we love our friends there. They're great people. They serve great food. They have ice cold, tasty drinks, and they always make sure that the atmosphere is a place that you want to be at the Glebe Central Pub. So make sure you go visit them right in the heart of the Glebe. You can find them, as we mentioned, 779 Bank Street. What's really cool, too, with PWHL Ottawa coming in, it's the perfect place to go grab a pint, grab a bite right before you head down to TD Place to watch those games. You can also get the Send Shuttle from the Glebe Central Pub for $17 round trip to and from the CTC. That's a great deal. Sue's an awesome bus driver. She knows all the side routes. If the Queensway gets busy, you're not in trouble. You're in good hands at the Glebe Central Pub. So leave your keys at home and go take the Glebe Central Pub shuttle. $17 to and from the CTC. You can buy your tickets online, GlebeCentralPub.com. Right in the heart of the Glebe. Go visit them. Tasty food, great drinks, awesome atmosphere. Glebe Central Pub. Let them know that Locked On Senators sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Sleeper. Guys, Sleeper is the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network, and it's the top choice for all daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey. That's why we love Sleeper. Big prizes available. And we love them because their app is awesome for group chats. You can let your buddies know you got a big week, talk some smack, and you can see how that plays out for you. And time is money, so entries can be made in just under a minute. That's the Sleeper way. And with studs like Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman, guys like these all around the leagues, all you got to do is pick stats like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more. You guys heard me, 100 times payout on Sleeper, so start paying attention and get your picks right so you can win big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Only available in the U.S. for now.
Tick, 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 tick. Boom. Welcome back to the Postcast. I'm Ross Levitan alongside
that's a new one.
Brandon Piller. I need to bring some sort of entertainment to the table, Pillsy, because we just watched another game that was short on that standpoint. The Ottawa Senators, as we mentioned, we've already pulled this up. They lose 3-1. Zach Hyman gets a hat trick. Pillsy, how sick of Zach Hyman do you think Anton Forsberg is? If you recall last February, Zach Hyman, incidental play. If anything, it was the other guy in this picture, Travis Hamonic, who pushed Zach Hyman into Anton Forsberg, tearing both of his MCLs, but he's got to just be rolling his eyes seeing that Hyman has 3 goals in tonight's game.
Yeah, that's the last guy he wants to see causing havoc and getting all over the stat sheet. Not that anything Hyman did was malicious, but just in general, that's some PTSD for Anton Forsberg probably. But hey, Ross, we were very hard on the goalies a little while ago. That was kind of our main points, is this goaltending has to be better, which it did and continues to have to be better. But you look at the past 2 games up against Seattle and Edmonton, the goalies have not been the problem. If anything, they've been bright spots. Sure, there's a goal tonight that you want back if you're Forsey, but I mean, 46 shots and the way the Oilers dominated most of this game as far as shots go, that was a good night for Anton Forsberg. So the blame the goalies crew, or at least that argument for the time being, the last 2 games, that's not an option to lean on that crutch here.
And ironically, Anton Forsberg typically plays his best hockey when he has more than 40 shots or more than, let's say, more than 30. This is the fourth time this season that Anton Forsberg has faced more than 30 shots. And funny enough, he's got 3 wins in those 3 games until tonight. He had 33 saves against the New York Rangers. He had 39 saves in that shutout against the Seattle Kraken. And last week had 45 saves against the Buffalo Sabres on New Year's Eve. So this is his first loss when facing more than 30 shots. Faced 46 of them. Faced 45 because there's the empty netter on there. So he made 43 saves. Anton Forsberg was certainly not the problem. But again, the softy game continues for the Ottawa Senators. Aaron in the chat put a stat in that's a very damning stat. And that's the fact that the Ottawa Senators standings have been very much affected by poor goaltending. Now, Tim wants to bring up the return of the DeBrincat trade. They still have the first round pick.
Hey, Donovan Sebrango got a lot of miles left on that career.
He got his first point with the Belleville Sens today. I'll talk about that on Monday because I'm going to try to go maybe for a period tomorrow, but I got to see a quick in and out of Belleville, winners of 5 straight. We got to say, and yeah, Tim, for that we'll spin. We'll spin a few times for that. You'll spin 5 times. You want to spin for that.
I'm ready to spin.
No, we're not spinning yet. First is Pillsy.
No, I don't mean right now. I just mean in general, in the general sense of the term, like a lifestyle choice. I will be spinning the Tankathon spin.
My head's spinning right now, Pillsy, of how they're going to get out of this funk. Like, is there a way? I know Brady's delusional. He thinks that they're going to go on a 2019 St. Louis Blues. Like, does he think that Craig Berube's walking in the room tomorrow?
I don't think he thinks that. No. Yeah, Ross, they are in a funk, and
it's like multiple games, though, right? Claude Giroux said they're just a few bounces away from winning 10 straight. Now Brady Tkachuk's bringing up a Stanley Cup champion team. Playoffs, like I actually, and think about it. They've won 6 games in their last 20 since Sweden. Pilsy, 2 of those 3 games. Wait, 3? Yeah, 2? No, because you guys postcasted. I joined you my first day. I was going to say, like, 3 of them were during the postcast break, kind of.
I know. We missed 2 wins. I can't believe we did that. We might not get 2 wins for a long time here.
Oh, my goodness. It's the star players have to be playing better. I mean, I'm going to keep coming back to that, Pillsy. Like, I've been going through it, and I took it off so I could go and find Claude Giroux's power play points since 2010. What a random thing. I almost wanted to see if I could keep pulling it up. But no, all jokes aside, since the coaching change, they just haven't gotten enough out of their top players. Like, it's that simple. Is it not? Like, you live and die with your best players. And in 8, like, they have an 8-game sample size now, Pillsy. Like, it's not like this happened yesterday. Or have they even added on? Maybe they haven't even added on tonight's game, have they? Because Arizona was the first one. So, no, they haven't added on. They're 3-6. So, even still, only Parker Kelly scored a goal tonight. Yeah. So, with 9 games played, Claude Giroux has 1 goal. Like, he's got 5 assists. He has 1 goal for Claude Giroux. 1 goal for Tim Stützle. 2 goals for Brady Tkachuk. Like, that's 4 goals from what was your top line last year in 9 games. It's not going to cut it.
And then Parker Kelly was the goal scorer of last game, the only goal scorer. So, like, back-to-back games for Parker Kelly is your only goal scorer.
Parker Kelly is tied with Josh Norris for the second most goals since the coaching change, with 3.
Yeah, wow. I don't know, like, to try to, again, to be grasping at straws, which is what we're led. That's our only option at this point. We've kind of exhausted looking at this from all angles. Maybe you're going from a point where DJ Smith was so kind of easygoing and, run and gun style game, dump and chase, like a very different type of game than Jacques Martin is trying to get these guys to play. Maybe you're going from one extreme to another so quickly that now all these guys that had that offensive jump are just so focused on the defensive side of the game more, or trying to focus on the defensive side of the game more, that at this point, they're not able to find ways to generate offense while being much better defensively than they had been. So maybe it's a feeling out process where before it was too much on offense and now it's too much on defense and they have to find some sort of way to meet in the middle. I don't know, Ross. Like I'm just grasping at stuff here, trying to decide if there's any way that we can look at this that can give us some hope that it is in fact time and games in hand that will end up at least giving this team a boost. But again, this is just desperation.
What happens first, Pilsy? A trade with an NHL player coming back, and I'm not counting Joseph and I'm not counting Shane Pinto, an outside player coming in,
okay,
or Jacques Martin making a major, because even in practice, like they outside of Eric Branster moving up to forward, like there hasn't been an obvious demotion of a guy in the top six.
No, not really.
What's going to happen first?
I want to lean towards Jacques Martin demoting someone just because, Ross, like it's tough to get deals done in today's climate if you're a general manager. So many teams are up against the cap, and teams know right now Ottawa's desperate. They know they got expiring deals. Like I'm really not sure how they're going to make a trade happen, especially now that it's very public that they're looking to do that. So they're kind of losing a bit of leverage here. So I'm going to say they got to try to fix things in-house. Like before you go and try to get other guys to bring in to shake things up, you got to try to shake things up internally. And we haven't seen that at all from DJ Smith, the previous coaching kind of era. So Jacques Martin, he's got to try to, like, he's already tried something bold. You mentioned bringing Branstrom as a winger. So maybe try for something that has a little more lasting power, that impacts players that have a little bit more leverage in the room. So I'm going to go with that.
Well, I'm glad you opened that door, Pilsy. That brings you to another question.
Okay.
Who gets made an example of?
Yeah, I gotta think it's going to be one of the top guys. Like it has to be. If it's just another kind of middle six or bottom six guy, I'm not seeing it. It's got to be a guy with a longer deal. Like I'm probably looking at a Josh Norris, maybe to elevate Ridley Gregg, give Ridley Gregg kind of a reward for how he's played. That's probably the guy I'm going for. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Chris. Yeah.
Other people are saying Tim Stützle, and look, he hasn't been the best, but he's also a guy like I don't know. I feel like taking ice time away from him might just make it worse.
And it's not going to help your team, right? That's the thing. Like some of these decisions you have to make. Sometimes it's short pain for long gain. Like sure, maybe if you're benching Timmy or sitting him out, you're sending a message and it's going to hurt you one game, but it's going to help you further on. I don't know if that's the case. And sure, Timmy hasn't been himself and he can't buy a goal, even with that big new contract and those new paychecks. He can't shell out enough money to just get a goal going his way. Let me remind you, he still leads the team in points. And for a team that consistently loses, regardless of how you feel about him, taking your points leader off and playing him less might not be the recipe for success you're looking for.
I'm so depressed typing the poll I just put up. So go vote for it if you're watching on YouTube right now. You can always listen to the Postcast as well the next day on any podcast platform. The question is, are you ready to embrace a tank towards a top pick in the 2024 NHL draft? Pilsy doesn't even have his panic button out, so I'm not going to ask you that.
It's on the way.
Brian, thank you very much. He can't believe we're here. Another rebuild, question mark?
No, I can't bring back the R word. And no, we're not rebuilding right now. We just suck. There's a difference. Let me make that clear. I'm not proud of it, but that is the case. We can't even use the rebuild as a crutch. This team is just plain bad.
I saw it just quickly. I want you to expand on that point more. I want to say it was Father
about how much we suck.
Yeah, I do. Because there's reasons for it. And yes, Ron at Father Fanuff on Twitter. This would have been an encouraging loss in 2019. You know what I mean?
Time. Yeah. Yeah,
Doesn't
that's a
hit the
good
same.
tank loss back in the day.
Doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, to answer quickly, I'm not ready to start cheering for the tank yet, even though that's probably the smart thing to start doing. It hurts too much to go back to that place that we were in.
It was a tough
He's
place.
gonna get there eventually, obviously, but
Alex asks, Pilsy, what's the point of a panic button if you push it too late?
that's a fair question. And I deserve the flack for holding off on the panic button, but I was trying to be optimistic. I was trying to think, okay, this team, it's not going to keep getting that bad. They're going to, win a game, lose a game, win two, lose. There's going to be ups and downs. This has been continuous downward trajectory. So I'm sorry, Alex. I should have pressed the panic button sooner. I should have followed the rest of the mob, but I'm hopping in now. I'm going to get the panic button. I'm going to press it emphatically on the show when it gets here.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Will says, sit Kachuk, send a message to the team. I wouldn't go that far.
That's a big message. That's your Hail Mary play, I think.
When's the last time a captain was healthy scratched?
I mean, for non-trade reasons, let that also be an asterisk. Because I'm sure they probably scratched Horvat for a little bit when they were going to trade him to New York.
This question was asked by Devils Twitter in 2019 when they had Andy Green as their captain.
Yeah, fair. Or Florida had Derek McKenzie as their captain for years, and I'm sure they scratched him once or twice.
I have an answer.
It's the Sens.
No, Craig Rivet was the last captain to be scratched, and he was eventually sent to the ECHL. So I don't think that is the case. I'm not. We're not doing this. We're not scratching Brady Tkachuk.
Should we put that as a debate on Twitter, Ross?
Let's not do that. I wanted so badly for McDavid to have no points and Ottawa to win, so I could just ask the question if trading Connor McDavid could help. But with Tim Stützle, I think that's Ottawa's answer to Connor McDavid, at least in terms of putting up points, and it just has not gone in for him. But again, he's a guy where I would hesitate to scratch him because at least he's still having chances. Josh Norris hasn't had a chance in how long? It's probably since his last goal 6 games ago.
And he's been set up for chances. He just the trigger and the one-timer from his office that was just automatic in years past is not there.
It's not there, and then he's a perimeter player otherwise. He's disengaged in battles, and it's so frustrating because you have to assume that the injury is either hindered his development or it's caused him to double clutch on how much he can take. I don't know. I'm just speculating because he was such a reliable two-way player. He was strong defensively. He was winning battles. He was winning faceoffs. He was doing all the things that you want to see a player do as a developing young up-and-coming centerman. So I just, and Bourne just put it in the chat. Norris has been invisible.
Yeah.
Making $7.95 million.
For what? 6 more years or 7?
7 more years.
Yeah. I'm getting nervous about how locked up everything is. That used to be a major positive, and it still could be. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying getting a little nervous.
Few people wanting to get some spins. Tim, we're going to get you 5 spins easily. I might even get carried away with the spins because I told Pilsy on Friday's Locked On Senators podcast, I said, man, I started doing my prep. I just took a quick peek. In Scott Wheeler's World Junior notebook, which is it's that and Ian Mendez. I mean, it's worth the price for the Athletic. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But when Scott Wheeler posted that notebook, I went to take a peek at Oscar Pettersson. I went to take a peek at Thomas Shamara. And then I kept scrolling until I saw the 2024 draft eligible guys, and I read all of them. That's where I'm at right now. And that's where it seems a lot of the citizens are at too. The poll so far, 64% through 120 votes are ready to embrace a tank. Now, it's not going to be a rebuild the way it was before. It's just not. You don't get
Why not?
Why?
Yeah.
Because there's players here that individually are talented. It's about bringing them together, and to give up on the players is an indictment on your franchise. You have to put the right strategy in place and the right other pieces to make those players the best that they can be. I truly believe that if you send any of the core players, and yeah, Norris is probably the most concerning right now due to the injury history, but all of the guys who are like the core of this team, the high picks, the guys who they're building around, I truly believe if you put them on other teams, they would be elite talents. So I think it's more of a Senators problem than a Jake Sanderson problem, than a Brady Tkachuk problem, than a Tim Stützle problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to. I'm with you. I just wanted to hear your explanation. I think what there has to be one guy out. Like this has to be kind of a musical chairs of core players, and one guy's got to be left out of the party here. That's my opinion. They can't. They've been given enough time with all of them, albeit a lot of them are young here, but I don't think it's going to work with all these guys here. And I think you're going to have to split one of those big contracts up to either get help in goaltending or in your middle six.
Alex makes a good point here too, that 8x8 won't be as big of a contract. I mean, in a few years, it's going to be 5x8, 4x8. But with the cap going up, it's going to feel like less and less, right?
Definitely.
Percentage
It's
of the
about
cap
percentages,
wise.
yes.
A guy who's kind of gotten off the hook here from us is Thomas Chabot. Another performance where I'm caught scratching my head, where it's like he has a high level top speed, but he very rarely uses it. Everything is about slowing the pace down, and I feel like it's hindering him. And then, I mean, the failed hold-ins at the blue line on the power play were just complete momentum killers tonight.
Yeah, big time. The one I'm kind of putting on Norris a little bit more. He gave him a bouncing kind of
With his mini
unnecessary
stick.
bouncing sauce pass. Yeah, exactly. So I didn't love that. That's tough for Spot there, but yeah, that's just trying to help him out a bit. I didn't think he had a good game either. And Ross, part of me is giving him a bit of a leash here. When he was explaining that last injury, what did he say? He hyperextended and like his bones like hit each other or something crazy. Brandon Piller, not a doctor. But that sounded like something that maybe could hinder your skating ability even when you're healthy. So I'll give him a bit of a leash when it comes to at least skating speed and maybe endurance. But the other stuff, like the way he's handling the puck, he's not able to do. I used to love Thomas Chabot's ability to do that fake shot, smooth slide over pass to tee up Norris. But whether it's teams kind of getting smart to that and checking the game notes and knowing that was a set play for the Sens for so long and they're able to cover it a bit better, or he's just not able to do it at the same success rate as before, I'm not sure. But either way, you're not seeing that as much as we used to.
This was a special teams loss tonight, and I put that in the title. And that's why we're kind of hammering home the point that the top players weren't good enough in tonight's game, because the Senators at 5-on-5 were perfectly fine for a road game against a really good team. The Oilers are a really good team. Don't let their poor start tell you otherwise. They're going to be a playoff team, and they're going to be a tough out for anyone who plays against them. This wasn't an easy game tonight, but they played them as well as they could, especially, I mean, through the first two periods. And if their power play had come through with one goal on that 4-minute advantage, we're looking at a different game. Special teams let them down tonight. They go 0 for 3 on the power play, and they allow 2 out of 3. It's that simple at the end of the day, and it's frustrating because we're here kind of, going with a fine-tooth comb through everything that happens within the game. And certainly there are mistakes, but there's mistakes both ways. They just get so much hyper-focused when at the end of the day, it's another loss. And again, you're wondering for answers, but sometimes the answers are pretty simple. And you have to look at the power play and the penalty kill, which are both dead last in the league in the last month. It feels like I'm going to actually look that up right now. Since
I mean, the penalty kill most likely is. The power play has got to be near the bottom.
Well, the power play, like they went 1 for 6 against Colorado, right? Like 3-9 in their last 12. I just went to a random spot here, and it's probably a bit early for that. Do you remember I remember the exact date. It was Thursday the 21st. So including the Colorado game where they went 1 for 6, the Senators power play. Okay, this is the stat that I need. This is my pièce de résistance stat of the night here.
Great.
On Locked On Senators. So typically, and Jim Taddy taught me this one when I was at TSN 1050, you want the power play and the penalty kill to add up to over 100 for it to be good, right? Yeah. 25% on the power play, 75%. You probably want it a bit better, right? A bit more than 100. Either way. Including the Colorado game. So over the last 8 games, right? So I could extend it to 9 with the Arizona game, but whatever. They blew that in the third period late. Let's go with the last 8 games. They have a 8% power play, Pilsy. 8.3. Math guy, how good does the PK have to be for it to offset it?
Gotta be 81.7.
No, you're 91.7. Math.
Oh, damn. Not a math guy.
The penalty kill is at 64.3.
Oh my God.
So add those up and you're just over 70%. It's not good enough. Like LA Kings, right? The LA Kings power play is 5% during this span, but they're killing off 89.5. So at least it's offsetting. The Ottawa Senators special teams are really ruining them. And that was one of the places that we were most confident in this team going into the season. Oh, they got 2 great units. They got 2 great units. Hey, is it like a quarterback? If you got 2 units, you don't have 1?
No, it's not. It's not like that. Yeah, it's wild that they're so bad at both of these. Like, yeah, typically one at least you can lean on, and the other one is not great, and you got to work on it. But this is just bad at all angles, special team wise.
Oh, people were wondering, and you know what? I will add the Arizona game in there, right? Why not? Why wouldn't I? The Ottawa Senators have the 28th ranked power play at 11.5% under their new coaching staff. Not telling you who runs the power play, but under their new coaching staff. And their penalty kill is 30th. So there you have it. That's the story of the last month. It needs to be better. It simply does. Pilsy, one more note, and then we'll get to... Actually, we got to do a Sen Central Standout presented by the Glee Central Pub because there's at least 2. There's at least 2. Do you want the slam dunk? Glee Central Pub, 779 Bank Street. Go visit them.
I'm gonna take Anton Forsberg. I know he had that goal you don't like, but we've been hard on the goalies, and we tout ourselves as a hashtag goalie friendly show. So if we're gonna be hard on them when they're bad, we got to give them some credit when they're good. Yes, I know that that stinker that squeaks through is not good, but overall, he played a great game. He kept the team in it for most of it. It's not his fault. He can't get any goal support or just one goal, but it's too little too late. I thought he had some nice saves on Vander Kane. He had some good saves on Connor McDavid, chances that usually when McDavid has that time and space, he's able to bury. So I liked Forzy's game. I know he's not the slam dunk guy, but I want to give him some credit when he's good. We got to try to give these guys some confidence somehow. So that's one he can build off of.
Okay, my Sen Central standout tonight is easily Parker Kelly. One note we haven't said about Parker Kelly is that this was a homecoming game for Parker Kelly. Camrose, Alberta, he's Canmore, Alberta, or Camrose. I need to pull this up, and Kevin was nice enough to find Parker Kelly's brother is on Twitter. I saw that. It's a small following there, and I want to give him some credit too here. Ashton Kelly saying it's pretty surreal to watch his brother Parker playing his first time Camrose. So I was right. Only 1 hour away from his hometown. And it was a Snapchat video saying, no Bucky in your hometown. That's gross. So you love that. And Parker Kelly was just awesome in tonight's game. So absolutely no fault of his that this game didn't end up his way. And I tweeted out as well, like, they're trusting him. And look, I know Matthew Joseph's been out a little bit. That elevates certain guys in the lineup, but he's averaging over 13 minutes since Jacques Martin took over as head coach. Tonight, Parker Kelly played 16-41, had 5 shots on goal, 3 hits, had the goal, was just a menace out there. And I love how he uses his speed. So Parker Kelly is my Sen Central standout presented by the Glee Central Pub. In the chat, we've got some people saying that the wheel is one of the standouts tonight. We will get to the wheel.
We'll see if it's a standout.
And by the way, I got to give a shout out to this. I saw some people in the YouTube comments doing this the other day too. Forzy, how have we never done that before? The number 4 with the Z, that's a sharp nickname.
Yeah, it is good. I'm just realizing this recently as well. I'm down for that. Forzy. I like it. I like
that. Always Sends asks, how can you fix this team? I mean, we're trying, man. We're trying to break it down. Really is. Swanky Pants, is there such thing as an organizational rebuild affecting the on-ice game? It's a great question. Swanky Pants talking about how there's lots of change and no real meta identity. Haven't heard that word before. That's a big word right there. I like that. But it has to be, right? But I feel like a lot of the changes are good for the players. I think they've rebuilt the lounge area. You know, they're getting their chef. There's no more quesadillas coming out of the, under the heat lamps.
Box quesadillas, yeah.
I think that maybe there is, but I also think that the ownership change, and you talk about affecting the on-ice game poorly. I do think that the one kind of silver lining, if you even want to allow it, is that I think it's going to make it, and maybe this isn't what you want, but I don't think anybody's going to be demanding out. Let's put it that way, because things didn't go well this year, because I think the long-term vision is going to be sold well from ownership and management, that players are going to want to be a part of it. I believe that. And maybe I'm delusional about that, but I really do believe it.
Maybe just to play devil's advocate on that, Ross, maybe all this change and hearing Michael Andlauer and Steve Staios say, hey, we want stability. We want to keep the coach. We want to keep Pierre Dorion. We want a two-headed monster. Seeing them say that and then have it change, maybe though that has the players being like, oh, crap. These guys are going to want to put their guys in place and shape this team to the way they want. They're not just going to hang on to what they've inherited, because what they've inherited has been an ugly mess so far. So maybe some of the players, though, are thinking, yeah, I may have a big deal here, but I'm not their guy. They didn't draft me. They didn't give me this massive 8-year deal. I could be out just when I thought I was getting comfy and we thought we were going to be a locked up core here. So it could have a bit of, back of your mind thinking like that for players as well. I'm not sure, but that would just be another angle I would look at.
All right, fair enough. The other shout out we want to give to, Belleville wins 3-1 today, and Boko Imama with maybe the fight of the year. And shout out Tyrell Bauer, too, from the Manitoba Moose. Those guys went at it for over a minute. Pilsy, do you see even ESPN Sports Center tweeted out that clip and tagged Belleville Sens? That's a big day for
Huge.
Footy and the boys over with the B Sens.
Yeah, that was I'd love if there were stats for this, but that's got to be up there in most jabs thrown in a fight. Like they were chucking them, but not a lot of haymakers.
They were winding up though before.
The quick pops, like they were getting the quick pops in, and both guys got their licks and got some punches in as well. But I mean, it's one of those fights, Ross, where sure, maybe Boko's got a couple scratches and bruises, but he could just go back to anyone and should have seen what the other guy looked like, because that was a bloody mess. I'm forgetting the other player's name, but that
Tyrell Bauer.
Yeah, he got the worst of it.
Yeah, and he's a tough kid too, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He
was paired with Kevin Korchinski in Seattle when they went to I believe the Mem Cup or whatnot. So he's just out of junior as well in the last couple of years. He's a player, late round pick, but a Mark Mathot type, if you will. Pilsy, we'll talk more about Belleville on Monday. We do have to get to some spins for Tim and everyone in the chat. Just an update: we are through 170 votes and 66% are ready to embrace the tank. We will not be starting draft profiles until after the regular season ends, but certainly there are many storylines to watch about Steve Staios. What's his first move going to be? I keep hammering this fact home that the Senators have not added a player to the roster from outside the organization since Vladimir Tarasenko. So Steve Staios has not added a single player of his choice to the roster. So it'll be really fun to break down when that happens, how the style or the type of player is going to maybe dictate future moves. But one thing that's certain, and Steve Staios said it again when he went on Edmonton radio yesterday. Of course, Staios, a longtime Edmonton Oiler, went to the Stanley Cup final with them in 2006 as a top 4 defenseman. but he keeps talking about how Claude Giroux is the leader on this team. Everyone needs to play more like Claude Giroux. So I keep seeing it, and it makes sense because he's 36 next week. But to me, he's a Senator for the rest of his career. Unless he decides otherwise, but based on his family situation, just building the house and all that and being a leader, I don't, and he's got a year left after this. So if this was next year, maybe. But to me, Claude Giroux is going to be a part of the solution, not the problem. I think they want more people like Claude Giroux, not less. I think there's going to be a full court press to keep him. Even if he went to them and was like, hey, I think that Staios can be like, hey, look, we're going to turn this thing around. Bear with us. That's what I believe. Maybe I'm, again, delusional, locked on delusion here. But I truly believe it. So I'm curious to see who they're going to add. And maybe next week we'll have a show where we'll target some guys and say, how could they help the culture? How can they help the on-ice product of the Ottawa Senators? But tonight, it was another loss. 3-1, the final score. The Senators are now losers again.
Mm-hmm. It's where we're used to being.
You ready to do a spin?
Let's do it.
So, should note, the Senators are 4th right now. Games in hand be damned, right? Like, you're on board with that as well, right? Like, they're 4th last in points. They're 4th last in point percentage. Like, games in hand are over. They're gone. They're done.
Yeah, it's over.
They're 14-21 through 35 games. We're not even halfway through the season.
Ross, I did not think we were going to see the Ottawa Senators with green numbers on Tankathon.
No.
This
9.5% chance at the first overall pick, Pilsy. First spin goes out to Tim.
This is for you, Tim.
Okay.
I like that. Again, a lot of Western Conference teams there.
We like that. Tim gets 5 spins. Let's hit Tim with a few more. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Sens draft 4th. We hate this.
We hate this so much.
This is the worst case scenario right here.
Yes. Although Montreal likes to waste first overall picks.
Worst case scenario, Pilsy. Montreal 1st, Tampa 2nd for those listening. 3rd, we've got just a quick swap. San Jose and Chicago. Of course, Chicago gets 1st. They honestly have so many injuries right now, though. You almost have to shake your head. But okay, one more for Tim. Oh, there it is. There it is.
We'll take it. Stop.
So it took us 5 spins. Does that mean we just stop? I feel like it should be.
Yeah, stop the count.
Stop it right there. I'm gonna leave it right up. This is our Stanley Cup, everyone. This is the Stanley Cup. Yeah.
Let's Celebrini about it.
Shout out Chief Burr. We got losses in hand. Forget games in hand, man. We got losses.
True. People don't even know we got those losses stacked up, ready to go.
They don't get it. Shout out Tim. Tim gets first overall pick for the Ottawa Senators, where they will select Mackling, Celebrini, and then they'll send him back for one more year at college, or they'll just loan him. But I need to see. Here's how I'm gonna spin zone how bad Ottawa's been this year. Okay. We're gonna get a grade A prospect at the World Juniors that are taking place in Ottawa.
Yeah, that is gonna be awesome. Just like they planned it.
You know who won best defenseman at the World Juniors the last time it was in Ottawa?
Thomas Chabot.
Nope, that was in Montreal, mon ami.
Tabernacle.
Who's the one before that?
Erik Karlsson.
Best defenseman in the 2009 World Juniors. Some say the best World Juniors ever. Obviously had that Eberle moment. I want a moment at the CTC.
That's going to be fun, Ross. We're going to that for sure.
Oh, yeah. But I want a moment for the Ottawa Senators at the CTC.
Yeah, agreed.
Ay, caramba. Pilsy, give me some final thoughts on this one. A 3-1 loss for the Ottawa Senators against the Edmonton Oilers. The road trip continues on Tuesday when the Sens visit Calgary. And stay tuned because Mathieu Joseph, if he's ready to come off the injured reserve, the likely move or the move that would require the least amount of juggling would be Cruikshank sent down, Smakal sent down, and then they would be to the penny at the cap.
Love it. That's how you run an organization right there.
It was, to be fair to the current management group, they didn't create this cap situation.
No, they certainly didn't. Final thoughts for me is uninspiring effort from the Ottawa Senators. Parker Kelly is your best player and your only goal scorer in back-to-back games. Here we are again, a 3-1 loss. Your Ottawa Senators.
On Monday, we'll break it down a little more. I'm almost nervous to text Math and be like, hey, man, want to come talk about the Sens? But we're going to
have to get the bleep button out for that one, Ross.
Oh, yes, we will. And I hope we do, because the Senators deserve a lashing here of, hey, is this what you want to be? Or do you want to be a team that wins hockey games? We'll have plenty of time to discuss this. Appreciate everyone for joining us. It's so late, and it really means a lot to us that you guys continue to support the show. You can do that by following us on Twitter at Sen Central. You can do that on Instagram, lockedon.senators. Please subscribe to the show on YouTube. It also helps us out when you comment and share, and steal your partner's phone, steal your parents' phone, steal any of your friends' phones, and make sure to subscribe to Locked On Senators. But we truly do appreciate each and every one of us, and every one of you from us. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glee Central Pub. Make sure you head to the Glee Central Pub at 779 Bank Street and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. You can also check them out, GlebeCentralPub.com. $17 gets you round trip on the shuttle to and from the CTC. For a full list of games, go to GlebeCentralPub.com. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chat. We'll talk to you on Monday on another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.